Hey BookTube, Chelsea the Reading Outlaw here to do a haul. It's been forever since I've done one of these. This is like a library haul, so I don't actually own but one of these books that I did not purchase. I was sent it as a lovely, lovely gift. The rest of these are all library books, but I still thought it would be a good idea to go ahead and show you guys what I've picked up lately because I'm super, super excited to get to them. Everything sounds really great. Most of these things were picked up after I did some browsing on the Book Riot Insider's new release index. I will link Insiders down below. It's the middling level at I believe $5 a month that gives you access to the new release index, which is basically just a compiled, curated list of new releases that are going to come out. They're usually about 6 weeks ahead of like where we are in the calendar. So you can go ahead and hop on your library hold list, which was what I did for a bunch of these. The rest come from various internet sources, including some from Jenny, some from the Food for Thought podcast, and some from other various sources. They just trickle in. You all know how it is. The first one I'm going to talk about is the one that I did not get from the library. It's the one that I actually own now, although I didn't buy it. It's Endurance, Shackleton's Incredible Voyage by Alfred Lansing with the new introduction by Nathaniel Philbrick. This is, as it says, the story of Ernest Shackleton, I believe it's Ernest, right? And his 1914 trip to Antarctica. This is not necessarily a book I would have picked up for myself, but I won it in an absolutely fantastic giveaway from the Jennies at the Reading the End podcast that they were doing in celebration of their Patreon launch. And this is a book that they read and loved. They love Arctic explorers. They loved this book. I'm very excited to get to it. Like, I'm always here for an adventure book, but like Arctic exploring is just never something that I would normally be drawn to. So I'm always here for stepping outside of my comfort zone, and I'm very, very excited to get to this. I did notice that like there are pictures, so I'm always here for pictures, and let's be real, I'm sure that it's going to have lots of various twists and turns, and then I can actually go back and listen to the podcast episode that they did where they talked about this because I haven't gotten to it yet. So thank you so much to the Jennies. What a wonderful giveaway that you guys did. There are a myriad other things. I will insert a picture of some of the other things that they sent me as part of the giveaway. Those things have all been rehomed to their various locations throughout my library and office, but I definitely wanted to show you guys the book that they sent me. And again, that's Endurance, Shackleton's Incredible Voyage. So the next things that I have to show you, speaking of stepping outside of my comfort zone, I have 3 collections of poetry, all by the same poet. It's Tommy Teebs Pico, who is a queer Indigenous poet and also one of the main hosts of the Food for Thought podcast. I will link that down below. If you haven't ever listened, please, please, please go check it out. Food for Thought podcast is a group of like multiracial queer authors and creators who get together to talk about pop culture and creation and the various aspects of how that impacts their identity as queer people and also as people living in the world creating art. And they talk about a different thing every couple of weeks. Sometimes it's a different theme, sometimes it's a different work, sometimes they have guests on. I absolutely love it. But I picked up all of Tommy Pico's 3 out collections that he has. The first one is IRL, and the back says, IRL is a sweaty summertime poem composed like a long text message, rooted in the epic tradition of A.R. Amon's ancient Kumbaya bird songs and Beyonce's visual albums. It asks, what happens to a modern queer Indigenous person a few generations after his ancestors were alienated from their language, their religion, and their history? So I'm incredibly, incredibly excited to check this out. I was very surprised that my library had this. My library does not have a huge collection of poetry. I live in Kansas, so queer Indigenous poetry especially was not something that I was expecting to find. But much to my surprise, they not only had IRL, they also had his second collection, Nature Poem, that I've actually heard quite a bit about floating around just in like the atmosphere because of his new release that just came out. People have been going back and talking about Nature Poem. I'm very, very, very excited to get to this. I've peeked through all of these collections and they look like they're done in a long form style that I usually find really, really interesting. But the last one that I have, and that's the one that just came out, and that's Junk. And Tommy Pico actually won the Whiting Award in 2018, which was like a really big fucking deal. And so I'm very, very, very excited to get to this, which is his most recent collection. I'm not sure if all 3 collections are interwoven, if they're telling a single, I mean, I'm sure they're telling a single story in that they are at least semi-autobiographical, so they're telling his story and reflecting on his life, but I don't know how much they're independent on one another. I'll let you guys know. After that, to kind of completely switch gears, we have a middle grade novel that I'm super excited for. The rest of these after this one are all young adult. So I have like middle grade and young adult. That's the large majority of what my haul is for today. And this one is The Miscalculations of Lightning Girl by Stacey McNulty. This is the story of Lucy Callahan, and Lucy Callahan was struck by lightning 4 years ago and became a math genius. So now she's 12 and she's ready to go to college, but her grandma makes her a deal. She has to do 1 year of middle school before she can go. She has to go to middle school for a year. She has to join a club. She has to talk to a person, and she has to read a book that's not a math textbook. And Lucy doesn't want to do any of those things. She just wants to go to college. She just wants to be able to be left alone. She's been homeschooled all this time, and she just wants to be able to go and be in her brain, with her brain, the way that she likes to be without having to deal with people, which is something that I can deeply relate to. However, that's not what happens. She goes to middle school and Lucy is forced to navigate the trials and tribulations of a kind of mathematics that does not necessarily make sense to her because it's the mathematics of people and it's the mathematics of interacting socially. I'm very excited. The back says, what do you get when you add 1 genius math brain, 2 new friends, and 1 shelter dog? The Adventures of Lightning Girl. So I don't know where the dog comes in, but I'm always very, very excited. I saw this compared to Go Ask the Jellyfish. I want to say it's what it's called. I'll put the cover up here just in case I'm wrong. But I really, really loved that one. And so to see this comped to that makes me very, very excited. The next book is another kind of departure, at least thematically. This is Tradition by Brendan Keeley. The subtitle is Tradition ... is not an excuse. This book is supposed to be a kind of searing examination and indictment of rape culture. This book takes place inside Fullbrook Academy, where Jules just wants to go about her business, keep her head down, and get her scholarship and get away from the old boy mentality in which she's stuck. Jamie is there on a hockey scholarship, and so all Jamie wants to do is play hockey, not make any enemies, and get his way out of school. Like, that's all these two people want to do. And then they meet, and they realize that in their aloneness, they can not only be together, but it may be up to them to say something about some of the really horrible things that their classmates are doing. I don't know any of the specifics, but considering it's set in a private school with wealthy, mostly white people, and it's about rape culture, I can imagine. I'm saying I'm looking forward to this doesn't feel like the right phrasing, but I am interested and deeply invested in finding out exactly what this book has to say on the subject. You guys who have been with me for a while know that when it comes to sex in YA and consent and rape culture in YA, that is something that I have very strong feelings and opinions about. I will link my last video on the subject in the card up here. Otherwise, I am a little nervous, but it's blurbed on the back by some really, really great people, including Amy Reed and Nicola Yoon. So I am looking forward to picking this up in the most tentative and reserved way possible. After that, as a little bit of a palate cleanser, I think I'm probably going to pick up this next one, which is The Summer of Jordi Perez and the Best Burger in Los Angeles by Amy Spalding. Julie Murphy, who wrote Dumplin' and Puddin', called this the fat girl queer rom-com of her dreams. What else do you need? Fat girl, queer, rom-com. I mean, I don't have any other words. Do you see how excited I am? I almost knocked my camera. That's how excited I am. This story is about Abby Ives, who is 17, fat, queer, and really all she wants is to make her plus-size fashion blog, hang out with her friends, get through the rest of high school, and go about her life. And then she gets an internship for the summer, and she meets Jordi Perez. And she falls deeply in love with Jordi Perez, or at least deeply in lust with Jordi Perez, because there's also Jax. And Jax is listed in the jacket copy as a much more, let's see, how's she described? A lacrosse-playing bro type who wants her help finding the best burger in Los Angeles. So Jody has to convince her Hollywood health-obsessed mother that not only is she perfectly happy in her own skin, she now has to navigate this kind of budding love triangle, all of which is made worse when Jordi takes a picture of her, puts it on Instagram, and all of a sudden Abby is famous in a way that she wasn't necessarily intending to be. So it sounds like a lot of really great things that I'm super looking forward to. Queer rom-com love triangles, a little bit of food porn, a little bit of social media inspired plot shenanigans. I'm really, really, really here for this. I think this is one of the books that I saw Jenny talk about. The cover has me so incredibly here for it, and I'm really hoping that it's the summer fun mood lifty book that I always am looking forward to make every summer better. That's it, you guys. That's everything that I have from the library / the one that I received for my own personal gain. So let me know down below if any of these sound good, what you're picking up, what summer books that you think are going to really kind of make your summer this year. Otherwise, you can come find me all over the internet. Make sure you check out the podcast and the Patreon, both of which are linked down below. And until next time, friends, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and Have happy reading.